No more undefined missions. No more open-ended conflicts. We're returning to a strategy grounded in realism and protecting our core national interests.
The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
This is my video update on this Saturday afternoon, May the 24th, coming to you from Limassol, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And we are going to start things off with some breaking news via the Financial Times. They are running with an article saying the UK investigates possible Russian involvement in Starmer arson attacks. Counterterrorism police looking into fires at properties connected to Prime Minister. Keep open mind about motive. What took you guys so long? What took you guys so long in the UK? This story's been going on for about a week now, maybe even more than that. And we finally have the Russia did it narrative. Usually it's within 24 hours that they come out with Putin is behind all of this, Russia is behind this, but this took a good week. 1 week and 3 suspects later, and the UK authorities are now saying that maybe, just maybe, Russia was behind these arson attacks. Let's see what the Financial Times is saying here. The senior Whitehall figures said UK officials are investigating whether actors in Russia may have recruited the trio accused of starting the fires. They said discussions are being held on how best to respond if that is the case. Prosecutor Sarah Przybylska has said in court that the alleged conspiracy is currently unexplained. Counterterrorism police leading the investigation are keeping an open mind about motive. Starmer has said the fires were an attack on all of us, on democracy, and the values that we stand for. The arson attacks were an attack on all of the citizens of the UK, on the UK's democracy and the values that the UK stands for. Damn it, Putin. Damn it, Putin. Recruiting 3 models to burn down 2 Starmer properties and his car. Damn it, Putin. What are you up to with this latest hybrid attack on the UK? Further down in the article, it says, even if British officials concluded the arson attacks originated in Russia, that would not necessarily mean they were ordered by the Kremlin or that the suspects were aware of any Russian involvement. It just could have been Russian citizens, Russian mafia, I don't know, Russian business interests, I have no idea. But it could have been something like that, completely not connected to the Kremlin. It just could have been Russians who had nothing to do with the Russian government that decided to recruit these Ukrainian models to burn down Starmer's property. 3 Ukrainian models to burn down Starmer's property. Actually, 2 Ukrainian models and 1 fashion designer / fashion store operator owner. Okay, there you have it from the UK, from the Financial Times. They're now looking at Russia for these attacks. It was bound to happen. I'm just surprised it took this long. Okay, let's move on now. We started this video with the clown world. We will end this video with a clown world. It's actually pretty clever when you think about it. If they come up with the conclusion, if they say, you know what, Russia was behind this, but it's not connected to the Kremlin, because maybe connecting it to the Kremlin is just a bit too much, right? You could say it's Russia, but if we say the Kremlin, that's just, people are not going to believe that. That's just going way, way too far. We're already pushing it by saying it was Russia. So let's just stick with Russia was behind this, but it were forces not connected to the Kremlin. That way the British people we have a better chance of the British people believing this. I think that does sound better. It's clever. I do see how they're thinking about this. Okay, all right. We'll see if the British people actually believe this, if they buy into this. Either way, it was, as Starmer has put it was an attack on the UK's democracy. That's right, an attack on the UK's democracy. So we had the big prisoner exchange between Ukraine and Russia. It has started. The prisoner exchange has not finished yet, because we're talking about a lot of prisoners, 1,000, 4,000. And I believe yesterday we had the first exchange taking place between Russia and Ukraine, as it was agreed during the Istanbul talks a couple of weeks ago. And Russia released prisoners to Ukraine, and Ukraine released 270 soldiers, but they also released 120 civilians. Elderly, women, elderly, civilians. They released 120 civilians. Most of them, from what I understand, from Kursk. And we have video of these civilians being released by the Ukraine authorities. So there's no doubt about it that Ukraine had taken Russian civilians, because we have the video of this exchange and this release. 120, most likely from Kursk. Actually, I talked about this in a video from last week. Many people are shocked as they saw this prisoner release of civilians, when this was supposed to be a soldier-prisoner POW exchange. Ukraine ends up releasing civilians, which is what Russia, as they negotiated this prisoner exchange, I believe this is part of what Russia was aiming for, because they knew that Ukraine had captured a lot of civilians in Kursk and had taken them hostage to use as leverage in order to exchange them for Ukraine soldiers. As I was saying, I talked about this in many videos about last week, a week and a half ago. We actually talked about this on the Duran, that there was talk that Ukraine had captured. At the time, it was thought 50 to 60 civilians from Kursk, and they were using them as leverage. And we had a release of 120 civilians so far. Keep in mind that we're talking about 1,000 people being released on both sides. So there's quite a lot of shock from social media accounts, and many analysts are asking the question, what is Ukraine doing with civilians? Why do they have these civilians? Many of them are thought to have been captured by Ukraine for 7 to 8 months. They've been held by Ukraine, but now they're released, and that's a good thing. And I believe this was a top concern for Putin's administration, to get these civilians released, as well as to get the prisoners of war released. But Lavrov, he said that after the POW exchange, when it is concluded, Russia will have the memorandum, a draft memorandum, prepared and ready to present to Ukraine, but also to the Trump administration. Draft peace proposal to follow POW swap. According to Moscow, the document will include conditions for a lasting, comprehensive settlement of the Ukraine conflict, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said. Yeah, he said in a statement that the document will absolutely address the root causes. The document will be Istanbul plus in memorandum format. Lavrov also said that there is no way millions of Russian speakers will be under the rule of the Zelensky regime. He said that as well. He said that's not going to happen. He actually said that would be a crime if Russia were to leave the Russian speakers in Ukraine under the rule of the Zelensky regime. An interesting statement from Lavrov. Leaving millions under rule of Kiev junta would be a crime. The foreign minister has insisted that Russian speakers in Ukraine must be protected.
Мы не можем оставить людей под властью того режима, который сейчас там находится. И если правительство, так называемое, хунта, по большому счету, Зеленского, если они рассчитывают на то, что каким-то образом будет достигнута договоренность о прекращении боевых действий, и то, что останется от Украины, будет жить по тем законам, которые они напринимали, это иллюзия. Этого допустить нельзя ни в коем случае. На территории Украины, которая вот за пределами конституционных границ Российской Федерации, миллионы людей разговаривают на русском языке, он для них родной, и оставить их под началом хунты, запретившей даже разговаривать на русском языке, только думать еще не запретили, это будет как раз очень большим преступлением.
There will be no unconditional ceasefire. Russia will not abandon the Russian speakers in the area. And as far as the memorandum goes, it will address the root causes, and it will be a long-term, definitive solution to the conflict in Ukraine. Lavrov, the hardliner, the diplomat, but also the hardliner. So the foreign minister of Ukraine, Mr. Shiba Inu, that's not his name, but Shiba Inu is what we'll go with for this video. He said that Ukraine is working to ensure a face-to-face meeting between Zelensky and Putin. He actually said that at this meeting, Ukraine is going to try and get Trump as well as Europeans, but they are actively working to set up a meeting between the Russian president and Churchill number 2. Mr. Shiba Inu said hopefully Trump will be there, and hopefully Europeans will also be at the table in the future, he said. So that's coming from the foreign minister of Ukraine. For 3 years, they have been telling us there is no way we will speak with Russia. There's no way we will speak with Putin. No way. Never going to happen. Never in a million years will we speak with the Russian president. We actually have put together a decree banning us from speaking with the Russian president. That was 3 years. 3 years they have been telling us this. And now we're trying desperately to get a meeting with Putin. We have to get a face-to-face meeting with the Russian president. And we would like Trump to be there, and we would also hope that the Europeans show up as well. This is the risk that Putin did take when he agreed, after speaking with Trump last week on the phone, to put together a time frame and a memorandum. We talked about this on the Duran. I talked about Putin's gamble, his risk, in a video that I recorded a couple of days ago as well. When he agreed to put together this draft memorandum, when he agreed to put together a timeline, and when they agreed to the negotiations, when they actually put together the negotiations, the bilateral talks in Istanbul, there was the risk, and there is the risk, that the collective West will put pressure on Russia and on Putin to make concessions. They're trying to do that in the case of the Vatican, trying to get the next venue of the talks to take place in the Vatican. And now you see it here coming from the foreign minister of Ukraine. And I'm sure the Europeans will say the same thing. I'm positive that Kellogg will also say the same thing as the foreign minister, maybe even Rubio as well, which is that Putin must meet with Zelensky. They have to meet face to face. And we will be there to support the meeting and to facilitate the talks as the United States. And then the Europeans are going to say, we want to be there as well. And we want this to take place in the Vatican. This is exactly what we predicted on the Duran and on this channel, that the pressure to try and trap Russia, to try and fool Russia, to try and gain some leverage over Russia, by controlling the venue, by bringing the Europeans in, by having the United States at the table as well, which is not a mediator. The United States is on the side of the collective West, obviously. That was the risk that Putin took when he agreed to the memorandum, to draft a memorandum and put together a timeline. But as I said in a video that I recorded, talking about this, if there's one leader that can dodge the traps, sidestep the traps and the risks, it is Russian President Vladimir Putin. He will be able to handle these very obvious traps that are being set for him. So that's the statement from the Ukraine foreign minister. Yesterday we had a big Russian drone and Iskander missile strike in many areas of Ukraine, but they really hit Odessa and really hit Kiev hard. I mean, they really hit Kiev hard. 10 Iskander missiles targeted Kiev, and they targeted the Antonov facility where it is believed drones are made. And this facility is located, from what I understand, close to the airport. But the Russian missile strikes pretty much destroyed the Antonov facility, the Antonov plant, manufacturing plant. That, from what I read, has, obviously, it's in the name, has very historic ties to the Soviet Union. It's a part of, I guess you could say it's a part of manufacturing, military history. But a lot of people are asking, Russia knew that this facility was there and it was making drones and UAVs. Why was it allowed to exist and to continue to make drones and UAVs? I don't know. I cannot answer that question. The Antonov aircraft manufacturing plant. Yeah, there are photos circulating, satellite pictures circulating, showing the plant, which is huge, by the way, a huge area, just showing the plant completely leveled. But many people are asking the question, why didn't Russia take this plant out much earlier in the conflict? I can't tell you. I cannot tell you. I cannot answer that question. Perhaps it highlights the restraint from the Russian military. Maybe they didn't want to go after a target that's close to the Kiev airports. Maybe they didn't want to go after a target that I guess you could say has some history to it, I don't know. But the Antonov aircraft manufacturing plant, from what I understand, is no more. And of course, this was Russia's answer to the 500 plus drones that were launched into the Russian Federation over the past couple of days. You could even say the thousands of drones that were launched into Russia over the past couple of weeks. This was Russia's answer to all of that. Many of the drones were targeting Moscow as well. So that's the news. From the military front, Trump, he put out a post on Truth Social announcing that he is recommending 50% tariffs on the European Union. The key word being recommending 50% tariffs on the EU. And these tariffs may go into effect on June 1st. A week away. 1 week away from 50% tariffs. I believe the tariffs were set at 20% when he announced Liberation Day, with 25% tariffs on steel and stuff like that. But basically, the Liberation Day tariffs were 20%. And then we had the whole 90-day pause. And it looks like nothing has happened. Little to no negotiations actually taking place between the EU and the United States. And so Trump appears to be very, very frustrated with the European Union. And he posted on Truth Social that he is just going to place 50% tariffs, or at least he recommends to place 50% tariffs. Which is basically Trump saying that you have a week. You guys have a week to negotiate this. Maybe he'll give an extension if he sees some progress from the European Union. This is what Trump posted on Truth Social. The European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. There are powerful trade barriers, VAT, taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against American companies, and more have led to a trade deficit with the U.S. of more than $250 billion a year. A number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with them are going nowhere. Therefore, I am recommending a straight 50% tariff on the European Union starting on June 1st, 2025. There is no tariff if the product is built or manufactured in the United States. Thank you for your attention to this matter. It's pretty hilarious that the European Union is pushing the Trump administration so hard to place sanctions, bone-crushing sanctions on Russia, and Trump is resisting. And here you have Trump announcing 50% tariffs on the European Union. And the United States, unlike with China, in this case, the United States holds all the freaking cards. It has all of the leverage on the European Union in this instance. Because at the end of the day, the EU member states and the European Union is just a vassal to the United States. Without the United States in Europe, the European Union, NATO, all the EU NGOs, all the EU think tanks, all the EU media, all of it disappears without the US presence, support, money. So, I mean, in this instance, Trump can pretty much dictate his terms to the European Union. It'll be interesting to see if he really, really pushes them hard, if he really squeezes them hard, because he has all of the tools. He's got tools. We've got tools, says Trump to Ursula. He could really squeeze them hard. It'll be interesting to see if he does it, or if he lets them off the hook. So that's the announcement from Trump. We've got tools, Ursula. You've got tools. Believe me, we've got all the tools in this trade war. All the tools. BlackRock Mertz, he's making news as he is calling for Germany to ban Nord Stream. To ban Nord Stream. It's been blown up, but now we want to ban it. He's doing this in order to prevent some sort of cooperation between Russia and the United States on Nord Stream. So this is BlackRock Mertz playing 10D checkers. He's trying to get ahead of a possible business normalization between the United States and Russia and a possible joint venture when it comes to Nord Stream between the United States and Russia. And his solution is to just ban Nord Stream. According to the Financial Times, Mertz backs Nord Stream ban to prevent US and Russia restarting gas link. That's how much Mertz hates the German citizen. That is how much he hates the German citizens. He has no problem for German citizens to pay a whole lot more in energy, gas costs. No problem whatsoever, as long as he can continue supporting Project Ukraine and preventing Russia and the United States from any kind of cooperation. He could not care if things are expensive for German citizens, for German businesses. His number one priority is Project Ukraine and sticking it to Russia and sticking it to Trump. That's right, sticking it to the United States. BlackRock Mertz. So what's BlackRock Mertz going to do? What options does he have as he alienates the United States of America, goes up against the Trump administration? Well, his option is China. Good luck with that, Mertz. He posted on X, I spoke with Chinese President Xi today. We are ready to work together in partnership to address global challenges. Our economic relations are important. Germany is committed to fair competition and reciprocity. I also informed President Xi about the joint efforts of Europe and the United States to achieve an early ceasefire for Ukraine and urged support for these efforts. We agreed to resume our exchange soon. The key word in this post on X is reciprocity. Please, China, please don't outcompete us now that you have a massive, huge competitive advantage, price advantage, resource advantage. You have all the advantages now. Please be kind to us. Reciprocity, come on. Take it easy on us. He's running to China. Why should China accommodate Mertz? Why? Why should they accommodate Mertz? Why should they accommodate Germany? They shouldn't. You guys decided to cut off Russia to China's benefit. The collective West decided to blow up Nord Stream and cut off Russia, sanction Russia. Your mistake. As China, we won that one. And now you're trying to prevent the United States from doing business with Russia, and you're running to us. Why should we help you? Why? No reason at all. Anyway, let's talk about a post from Pavel Durov talking about Romania. He posted, and France, Romania and France. Durov posted, Nicholas Lerner, the head of France, is foreign intelligence, who asked me to silence conservative voices on Telegram in Romania ahead of its elections and later tried to deny it, visited Romania just 2 days before the vote, official sources told journalists. We will do everything on the ground to ensure that the next Romanian president is pro-European, said Macron's closest ally and key party member, Valerie Hayer, to France Info on May 10th, 2025. So what did the head of French intelligence do in Romania a few days after this promise? And Durov is right. Durov is right. There are stories in the media which do claim that France's chief intel guy was in Romania a couple of days before the elections. What is France's chief intel guy doing in Romania a couple of days before the elections? And then, of course, you have this quote: "We will do everything on the ground to ensure that the next Romanian president is pro-European." All right, it kind of gives it away. What am I doing in Romania? What are you doing in Romania, Chief Intel Learner? Well, we're just here to see how things are going in Romania. I'm just kind of taking a visit to Bucharest to check things out. Oh, and by the way, we want to make sure that the pro-EU guy wins. Yeah, I like how Duran says Macron's closest ally in reference to Lerner. That's how you know that Duran, for him, this is personal. This is not about democracy, and it's not about Romania or anything like that, or free speech. It's about none of that stuff. This is about Duran going after Macron, embarrassing Macron, the people that arrested him. That's personal. This message shows that for Duran, it's about Macron, an embarrassing and humiliating little Napoleon. So let's, how are we doing on time? Let's do a clown world, and we can wrap this video up. And in today's clown world, I believe this video is from Belgrade, when the EU's top diplomat, stunning and brave Kaja Kallas, when she was in Belgrade the other day, and she was speaking to the media, and she was talking about the separation of powers in the European Union. What separation of powers is there in the European Union? Is there really a separation of powers? I've always thought of it as just one big blob, one big globalist blob. That's the European Union. But Kallas is trying to sell us on this separation of powers, and she did such a terrible job trying to explain the separation of powers that she didn't even remember what those branches, alleged branches in the European Union are. She said, of course, one of the principles of the European Union is the separation of powers. You have the executive, you have the legislative power, you have the executive power, then you have the legislative power. I mean the courts. Excuse me, it has been a very long week. If you're going to make stuff up about the European Union having a separation of powers, which is obviously copied from the United States of America, obviously you're lifting this from the United States of America with the separation of powers. But if you're going to go with this fable, this fantasy about some sort of separation of powers in the European Union, at least memorize the freaking script. Stunning and brave. Come on. Come on. And then she says it's been a long week. I'll play the video in a second. She says it's been a long week. That's right. Project Ukraine and being obsessed with Russia takes a lot out of you. Being obsessed with Putin, it's really tiring. Stunning and brave. She's very special. She is absolutely very, 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 very special. Kaja Kallas. Let me play the video of this statement from Kaja Kallas, and that's it for me today. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I'm wearing in this video update. There is a link in the description box down below. Take care.
Of course, one of the principles of the European Union is also the separation of powers, which means that you have the execution, you have the powers, legislative power, you have the governing power, and then you have the legislative, the courts. Sorry, it has been a very long week, so.